Let's take a look at standard IF.2. For this standard, we're going to use function notation to evaluate piecewise defined functions for inputs in their domains and interpret statements that use function notation in terms of a context. So let's get started with question number 1. It shows a function f of x and it asks us what is the value of f of negative 2 plus f of negative 1 minus 3 times f of 2. So let's start with f of negative 2. So if we come over here and think of f of negative 2, that means x equals negative 2. So we have to figure out which piece of this function would make the best sense. And it says x is greater than negative 2 for the first piece of the function. So that doesn't make sense. And then x is less than or equal to negative 2. So this part of our function would make sense for negative 2 since that's part of that domain. So we need to plug it in there. So 3 times negative 2 plus 57 would give us negative 6 plus 57, which is 51. So I'm going to write that over here for that part of what we're trying to find the value of. Then f of negative 1 is the next part. So we want to think of f of negative 1. So now our x is equal to negative 1. Negative 1 is greater than negative 2. So this first piece of our piecewise function would make the most sense for negative 1. So we got to plug it in there. 6 minus 3 times negative 1 squared will give us 6 minus 3 times positive 1, which is 6 minus 3, which gives us 3. So now we're going to add 3 to the 51. And then the last part of the function, the value of what we're looking for, it's not really a function, it's an expression, is minus 3 times f of 2. So we're looking for f of 2. So 2 in our function would make the most sense where x is less than or equal, or excuse me, not there, because that's less than or equal to negative 2, and that does not make sense. We need where it's greater than negative 2, because positive 2 is greater than negative 2. So we're going to plug it in that first piece of the function again. So 6 minus 3 times 2 squared gives us 6 minus 3 times 4, which is 6 minus 12, which is negative 6. So then to put all of that together, we need to say 51 plus 3, and then negative 3 times negative 6 turns into 18. And then when we add all of that together, we get 72. All right, so that was question number 1. Question number 2 shows functions f of x and g of x. So we have the first one is f of x, and then the second one is g of x. And it wants us to do a similar thing that we did with number 1. Find the value of 3 g of 2, which means 3 times g of 2, plus 2 times f of negative 2. All right, so let's get to work. We want to say 3 times g of 2. So I'm going to come over here and just figure that part out. So g of 2, 2 is greater than negative 1. So since 2 is the only thing I have for that function, that's all I can put there. There's nowhere to plug anything else in. So moving along, now the next part of the function says, I keep saying function, it's like an expression more so. So 2 times f of negative 2. So come over here to the functions, and we're going to find f of negative 2. So negative 2 is less than 2. So the first part of our function would make the most sense to plug it into. So 3 times negative 2 minus 4 will give us negative 6 minus 4, which is negative 10. So now to put all that together, we have 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 times negative 4, which is negative 20. And then 6 minus 20 is negative 14. All right, so let's look at one more. Craig works in a furniture store. He uses this function to calculate his weekly pay, f of x, in dollars, based on the number of sales he makes, x. F of x equals 15x, where x is less than or equal to 25, and 375 plus 18 times x minus 25 for x is greater than 25. What is the meaning of f of 27 in this context? So f of 27 is our x value. So x equals 27 means he had 27 sales that week. So F of 27 would be his weekly pay for a week when he had 27 sales. Let's say when Craig had 27 sales. That's what F of 27 represents in context. Context, by the way, means words. What does it mean like in words? Okay, so that is all of the 3 examples for standard IF.2.